Hey everybody, welcome to the InPsight Show. I am your host, Danielle Egnew, and you are a fly on the wall to everywhere. I am so excited about this podcast, you guys. As you will see, if you're watching this on Patreon, you're going to see the video feed. If you're just listening, I'm going to describe who I have as my guest today. And I'm so excited to have her, you guys. She is literally one of the coolest human beings I have ever had. It's true. I have ever had the grace to ever get to know. And I am so excited to introduce you guys. I have to read my little post-it note because she's got a list of amazing things that she's done. Not only is she an instructor at the Rocky Mountain Academy of Energetic Arts, you guys, she's an Intuitve Integrative Therapist and a mental health specialist. She's a reader and channel, okay, guys, of 35 years. Girl knows her stuff, guys. And she is a certified Biofield tuning practitioner. And this is just one tiny corner of the absolute fantastic chunk of human that is Rachel Seifert. So Rachel, thank you for coming on today.
Oh, thank you for having me. I'm so excited to meet with you today and everyone else.
Yes, I'm excited to have you too, girl. Okay. And so guys who are watching this on the video, I'm going to be looking at you sometimes. Sometimes I'm looking at Rachel. So my eye line's going to switch around, but it's all good. So Rachel, I am so psyched that you have this opportunity to come on here and talk about everything that you do. And let me ask you the great big question. You know, you've got so many skills. You've got so much stuff. I mean, you're a licensed therapist. People get to talk to you. And while you're speaking to them about all the therapeutic issues that could be going on, you're also, I'm sure, getting a lot of information for them, right? That's from the ethers. How do you work out balancing everything that you're getting from the ethers and just the therapy part, or are they the same thing for you?
Oh, that's a good question. I think I've always done it. And I think anyone else who is a helping professional out there listening does it too. You will have been the friend who everyone confided in, the friend who was the one that people felt better after they talked to you, the sister, the girlfriend, what have you. And what skills you choose to gain along the way is up to you. Maybe you like Reiki. Maybe you're into yoga. Maybe, you're a channel. Maybe you're a nurse. You can have straight jobs, as I call them, like being a therapist, mental health specialist, child mental health specialist.
Sure.
Technically, I'm a psychotherapist, but I never use that title because doesn't that just sound awful?
I'm a psychotherapist.
Right? I prefer to say that we have therapeutic conversations.
Sure.
And I think readings can be therapeutic and therapy can be a reading. I do have ethical boundaries. If I see someone strictly as a therapist, I'm not going to say, well, this is what your dead grandma's saying. I mean, I can function in a very separate role. But what I do is I just translate it in my head. So for instance, if I say, wow, that's atavistic memory, what I would say is epigenetics. Mm-hmm, there's a lot of overlap more and more where the metaphysical meets the psychological or what have you. So you just have to read the room and code for the right job. How I might describe something I'm seeing for someone who I'm giving a biofield tuning session for is going to be different than a therapy session, is going to be different than a reading. You go, if you're a helping professional, you go and help how you need to help.
Yeah. No, that's totally true. And don't you feel like the skill of reading the room, the gift of empathy, the spiritual gift of being an empath is so deeply important in that particular aspect of your work?
I don't think anyone could be a functional helping professional without empathy, because that's the will to help.
Yeah.
Empathy is built in for the will to help.
It absolutely is. Yep.
You might feel you don't help enough, or you might wonder if you've helped the right way, all of those things that we're subject to as humans. But what I find striking about big systems without empathy, like, I don't know, a healthcare system or what have you, is there's no will to help.
Yeah.
Not
Yep.
really. It's management of disease or something, but not a will to help.
Yeah.
Where you get the empathy is from your actual on the ground, ARNPs, the great therapist you see, the great physio that helps you, what have you. Your empathy is one-on-one. The systems don't have empathy because they're not built to, and you don't find it there.
What's interesting is you said the systems don't have empathy because they're not built to, which is going to take us into this great topic that we're in today, that we're going to head towards. And really, the overarching topic of our podcast today is going to be the dying art of empathy. That is our overarching, that just came to me, so I'm going to write it down on my little post-it note
I
here.
have been excited to wonder what you're going to come in with, what you and the angels have to say, and then we can riff on that. What a wonderful topic, especially this time of year.
I know, right? I mean, we're coming into the holidays. And for some people, that is super traumatic. For other people like me, I'm a holiday baby. I'm a holiday junkie. I freaking love the holidays. They've been very good to me in the past. So I've been very fortunate. I know that's not the case for everybody. So as we come in and the spirit of peace is here, and the spirit of peace actually is a real, and Rachel, the spirit of peace it's a real spirit, right? And it comes in because we as human beings allow it in. And
we rise to the occasion.
Right. Oh my God, we totally do. We rise to the occasion. So as we rise to the occasion, then we are able at that point to be able to say, wow, I've opened myself up to peace. And then the spirit of peace comes in with us. And it's like, okay, hey, let me shine, right? Let me shine and do my thing. So the dying art of empathy, I think that, when we've got some cultural issues here that I've noticed that have been so strange with certain figures. And I'll just throw this figure out there, the late Charlie Kirk, who was a content creator, and he created his content by doing sort of mock debates on college campuses. And the late Charlie Kirk was, guys, if you're a content creator, some content creators really feel the need to push the envelope and create conflict so that they gets more people arguing on their threads. So once they're arguing those threads, right, Rachel, they boost when that happens.
Oh, yeah. Engagement. It's all about engagement.
100%, 100%. And I don't even think Charlie Kirk honestly really, really believed half of the stuff he said, but it got people engaged. One of the things he said was that he felt that empathy was dangerous. It was one of the most dangerous things out there. And he preferred sympathy over empathy because he felt that empathy, isn't that interesting? That empathy, that it watered down the process of, like you're in the water drowning with someone instead of pulling them into the boat, was sort of how he described it.
I mean, yeah, well, there's certainly semantics and people can have different definitions. The way I always received that, because as you know, spirit really gets to be a stickler about verbiage and those things that might be called semantics. But what I always got was sympathy is of the ego. Oh, you poor thing. You're a victim. What does it? It doesn't empower. It reaffirms the victim.
Sure.
Sympathy.
Yeah.
You're reaffirming the victim and the ego victim.
Yeah.
Empathy rises above. It rises to the occasion. It says, how can I be with you? How can I support you? How can I see you?
Yeah.
Let me know how we can connect that works for you. That would be empathy. Mm-hmm. And it is not from the ego.
No.
So that's just what I always got to clarify those two. But I think it's interesting that he preferred the egoic. It was safer.
Bingo girl. Yeah. It was a lot safer. And so in that means, okay, it's so interesting to me because in your work as readers, empathy is so important. It's been my observation, even dealing with these angels. I can read all day long for somebody. Okay. Yet if I lack empathy in how I deliver what I say to them, we're going to have a problem. Those folks, if I lack empathy in how I deliver what I'm saying, people won't hear the message in the way it's intended. So empathy, I've always found, was incredibly important. as a building block, not just in who we are as human beings, but in society. And so when I hear big podcasters, former podcasters like the late Charlie Kirk say, oh, this is not a big deal, or we have examples in leadership that really do not believe that empathy is important. I really feel like that affects, there is a teardrop effect that has that just kind of goes down over the layers. And by the time you get to the bottom bucket, I feel like people are not perhaps operating in a way that would be in the highest design for all of humanity. I mean, what's your observation about that?
A couple hits already. One is, if you want to look at it through the psychological lens, 70 to 80% of communication is nonverbal. Okay. So for instance, what's the difference? I don't know if this is a visual, right? Maybe a little bit of tonal too, but have a nice day. Being, you're open, you're meeting with them, you're excited about them, you're happy to be with them, you're sharing. Have a nice day, right? Versus have a nice day.
Right.
That snarly kind of passive aggressive. Most people, not everyone, some people have a harder time reading the room or nonverbal cues. But most people are excellent at those nonverbal cues and the body language. That's why we invented emojis, just so we can give a sense of context, right? to speech.
Yeah.
So when people are recently, the buzzword I've heard a lot is authenticity. I've been hearing a lot of people talk about authenticity. I'm like, authenticity? That's like saying oxygen. Well, duh. Of course, but what is that? It's because they're so used to these filters. Like you say, when I saw that image of you with the cascading information till by the time you get to the bottom, there's not a drop in the bucket.
Yeah.
And they go, where's the realness? Where's the authenticity? Where are we meeting? Where's the empathy? I think maybe a piece of the question of authenticity is the empathy piece. Like the part that really actually cares, the person who says, how are you doing? And actually wants to hear your answer.
Yeah. Yep. And with that, I'm going to go kind of four-wheeling on this empathy topic. So, right. So you and I are both Gen X, and we talk about being Gen Xers, and we are a unique generation. We're one of the smallest generations, period. We are the highest per capita entrepreneurial generation of any generation out there. We came out into the world where the world was falling apart. And so we were struggling and hustling and doing our own thing. We typically tend to be kind of suspect of bigger systems and whatnot. And we are a very small generation. And what I think is interesting is that we overall, as a generation, are huge empathy junkies overall, even though that the boomer generation, the greatest generation, were implying that if we would just stick to the bottom line, if we just muscle through or nut through or whatever, it would be better. But a lot of what Gen X did or does, I feel, is sometimes even silently in the background. I really feel spiritually our generation, and some, obviously you guys, there's people who are weird in every generation, but
stay weird.
Stay weird. People in our generation very much prop up empathy, even quietly from the back. And and Rachel, you and I were talking before the podcast went on today that I was just built to be this. I'm born into this Italian family, this hyper extroverted person. It's just my personality. You are literally one of the absolute most knowledgeable people I've ever met across multiple disciplines, from just reading, psychic readings, to channeling, to literally, you guys, to all the tonal healing stuff. I mean, as you can see, I'm in my studio here. I'm an audio engineer, and I know a whole lot about sound. And then Rachel comes in and cross collateralizes that with all kinds of other different methodologies with the body. So tonal healing in you are huge. And you are one of the biggest introverts I've ever met. And I'm always just like, girl, get out there and tell people all the things. And you're like, well, okay. I mean, all right. But your empathy, Rachel, your empathy is massive. It is massive when you sit there with those individuals. So when you look at somebody like, and I'm just going to pick on some low hanging fruit, you guys, and some of you love him, some of you hate him. We're talking about President Donald Trump. When you look at Trump, he doesn't often exhibit, at least outwardly, he doesn't often exhibit empathetic behaviors. I'm not going to say he doesn't have any empathy because I don't know the guy. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
However, how do you feel that the exhibit of less empathy from a leader, do you feel that can have an influence on its population at all? Do you really feel like we're that monkey see, monkey do, or spiritually, or what do you think about that?
I think what's fascinating about it is that it splits the country into a couple of camps. Okay. One is if you see a displayed lack of empathy elevated to the norm, that means you're just a straight shooter, that you're telling it like it is, or however they want to dress up coarseness or callousness, then that will allow a whole group of people to follow that. It's tone from the top, right?
Tone like from the top.
That's like kind of a. I've heard that in kind of military terms, in corporate terms. It's what culture sets the tone at the top, and then what that sets the expectation for all that follow, right?
Okay.
So
tone from the top.
If you've got a leader, whether it's of a country or a corporation or family, where the tone from the top says feelings aren't important, they just get in the way. Don't be messy. Stay in your lane and ignore anything you don't know how to process. Whatever. That becomes a norm. Some people are going to naturally go, oh, thank goodness, I don't have to do anything new. I don't have to learn that skill. I'm just going to follow what they say. Conversely, on the other side, you get people who respond strongly to this perceived displayed lack of empathy. And they get very empowered on their side to go, you know what? Are we going to not have any SNAP benefits? I'm going to go out and donate. So I find that what a negative tone from the top does is it splits all underneath.
Interesting.
And we're seeing that in society, right? We have some people who are going to really rush into the breach and say, I'm going to help. If there's not enough food, I'm going to help. If there's not enough XYZ, I'm going to see if I can participate. If you're an extrovert, you go out there and do something because a bigger system that doesn't get built with empathy in doesn't meet that gap. So you go in. If you're an introvert, I'm going to be there for my people, my nearest and dearest. I'm going to check in with them. So I think that's the main thing I think about in terms of empathy, like you say, cross-collateralizing empathy to lack of empathy to what if your leaders have a lack of empathy and the leading systems have a lack of empathy. There's going to be two camps underneath.
Well, and to your point, we are seeing so much of that now. We are seeing so much division, and and it breaks my heart because my whole personality, mission in life, what do you want to call it, right? No matter what, I really firmly believe this. I firmly believe that all human beings have something glorious to donate to our collective consciousness. I mean, and again, some of you love Donald Trump. Some of you can't stand Donald Trump. The interesting thing about that is look how much everybody talks about Donald Trump. So clearly Donald Trump is bringing in something to our collective that we could be learning from. Yeah. And, and I can't say that. I mean, I'm always very transparent about where I fall in this podcast. I'm not the biggest fan of Donald Trump on the earth. But that's not because he's a Republican. I've known a lot of really extraordinary people who decide to affiliate with the Republican Party and go into civic service. I just don't care for him as a person from what I've known from him through the years. And I did know people who worked on The Apprentice and very close friends in the past, and they brought up certain things. And honestly, the one thing I will say about Donald Trump is he is exactly who he is. He has not changed in who he is. He is the exact same guy doing the exact same things he was doing on The Apprentice. So he is who he is, right?
I wouldn't call him a deft chameleon. No, he has been very upfront with who he is. And
Yeah.
some people
Yeah,
can
that's
say that
true.
means
Yeah.
some people will say that means he's authentic.
Well, he is
But, you
definitely.
know,
Yeah.
yeah,
He's
yeah.
definitely very authentic to who he is
Hmm.
for whatever that is. Okay.
Right,
And whatever that means for him in the moment. And that's his chameleon thing, right? I think
right.
that whatever that
Yeah.
reality is changes for
I,
the moment, I
I
think.
think there's no way to really discuss him. I mean, there's no way to discuss him without looking at it through the mental health lens. Maybe that's just me because I'm a mental health professional.
Well, what would you say
But
about that? I
well, I
mean,
would say that we all have our hardware, that's our bodies, and we all have our software, that's our brains, our neurology, how we're wired, right? That the brains and everything that run the whole system.
sure.
And you cannot be separate from if you've got, neurology for being ADHD or on the spectrum or whatever, it's going to be an indelible part of who you are.
Hmm.
And I would say his mental health status and then also his age contributing to his mental health status are going to, you can't underestimate how much of things like impulsivity or whatever um,
Yeah.
are affected by his software, and just as much as all of us. If
Hmm.
you're a channel, you're going to be a channel whether you're in a therapy session or at the grocery store.
That's true. Yep.
If you have a personality disorder, that's going to color everything you do. So
Yeah.
if you look at authenticity and where it intersects with empathy, your neurology is going to matter. Your neurology is going to matter.
Well,
Are
yeah.
you
And
wired for empathy or not? Because
right.
you can be an authentic jerk. You can be
Yeah.
an authentic, uh, delightful person. You can be a
Yeah.
phony nice person, and you can be a phony grump, but really be a softie on the inside, right?
Yeah.
So they're not the same thing. Ideally, what we hope for is what? Authentic and kind, most of us. But some people really like that edge that they really don't see authenticity as anything other than the sharp edge of your tongue.
Isn't it interesting psychologically and spiritually, Rachel, that we find authentic oftentimes synonymous with rude or cruel? And
Blunt,
I
yeah.
isn't it blunt? Well,
Hmm.
they're really telling it straight. They're not
Yeah.
cutting
Hmm.
corners. Why? Why is that? I mean, I could think of a million reasons why, and
Yeah.
we try to be polite in at least our culture here in the United States. If you go to France, they think we're sycophantic wackos. They're just like, why the
The norms are
hell?
different. Yeah.
Oh yeah, the norms are totally different, and they're looking at us in France, and they're saying they can't stand the way Americans always have to make things happy or kind. They see it as very disingenuous. If they're having a
Mm,
bad day, you're going to get a French person having a bad day right in your face because it's
right.
culturally okay to just feel the way you feel. And
Yeah.
in the United States, it's like, well, let's try to be kind. Let's try to just be cool. We were a country that was founded by, originally, we were a colony of the UK's. We were an English colony, and there was all of that presentation and making sure that you're not stepping on the toes of others with your own
Mhm.
emotionality. So we came from that, right? That's how we came from. And so what I think is really interesting about this is, and I've run into this in my work, Rachel. I've run into people who have just flat up thought I was disingenuous because my initial operating system is to lift people up, and it's just
Mhm.
to be kind to people. I think many people's operating system initially is that, then things go sideways and haywire, but that's
Yeah.
just how I am. And I've had people look at me and say, I can't trust you. I don't think you're real. I think you're phony. And I'm like, what is your problem? You're just too nice, they'll say. And I'll think to myself, well, that's
Sad.
not on me. That is
Yeah.
your own, those are your wounds showing. Zip them up. Your wounds are showing
Yeah.
there. Come on. But I mean, when
Well,
I
they're wounded children, right? I mean, as a child mental health specialist, I had the privilege of working with, hundreds and hundreds, and God, I don't even know how many under 18s, but lots of, 6 to 18, 6 to 16s,
geez,
whatever.
sure.
Um, and what I noticed in the lifespan I think a lot of times children start out with their baseline being fairly kind. I mean, there can be
Yeah.
early
Yeah.
early trauma that makes them reactive, and
Well,
not kind
sure.
because they're
Sure.
traumatized. But if you
Yeah.
take a kid who's had a fair to middle and reasonable experience thus far, their norms tend to be pretty kind and their expectations are kind.
Yeah.
But what happens is when something comes in and hurts them,
Yeah.
they get a little bit like you got burned by the stove, you get a little cautious around the stove now. When someone
Mhm.
says like, shut up, stupid head, and then they just burst into tears, right?
Oh,
We start to
yeah.
learn over time that maybe this is who I really am. I'm this person people yell at. I'm this person that is being mean. They're mean to me because I deserve meanness, and that's the real thing. And I used to
Wow.
think being kind was, but now I realize being mean is more common at my school or in my home or what have you.
Yes.
And so you times that by 20, 30, 50 years, people's norms change from a spiritually aligned, generally kind is the norm.
Mhm.
And it
That's
would
what I
take
feel
something
like. Yep.
extraordinary to make you have to harden, make you have to retract, make you have to protect for your safety, to make
Hmm.
you not suspicious from like paranoia, but
Yeah.
for preservation, right? Just preservation. So after a while, people get the half full, half empty thing. Well, it's half empty. And so
Yeah.
they'll say, well, if you're that nice, you must be having it on. You must be trying to fool me. You're trying to manipulate me. You're trying to put on a phony, false front. One thing I love about Americans is our norm. Well, traditionally, our
Yeah.
norm has been kindness. We've had enough space.
Sure.
Meeting another person's exciting. You might have only gone into the marketplace or your trading post or whatever, and it got your mail and exchanged pleasantries with your neighbors in congregation at church, and then you got another week by yourself with your family on the homestead again. It was an
Right.
event. Whereas maybe people in Europe, they're cheek and jowl in tenements for centuries, and they're trying to carve out a space for themselves, and it just grates on them to see that much joy. I don't
It
But
could
I
be a
do know that
thing. Yep.
but I can say I've seen that arc of young people with a norm
Yeah.
go, people are kind unless something happens, to people are unkind unless something happens.
Isn't that
Yeah.
interesting? And so when we're talking about empathy and top down, is that what you called it?
Oh, tone from the top. Yeah.
Tone from the top, tone from the top, and empathy, and how we automatically assume that we're being glad handed if somebody is, we're being bullcrapped if somebody is kind,
Yeah.
and I can't tell you how many clients I've had over the past 25 years that I've done this. And they have said to me, listen, you just need to tell it to me like it is. And I am telling them like it is. I am telling them they have cancer. I am telling them that this is going to be a
Yeah.
hard struggle. But the way that these angels lay this out for me to talk to them is very specific so that they will hear it. And it's not, and I'm literally using the words, it appears you do have cancer. Now, I'm no medical doctor, you guys. I'm no person who can suggest financial plans for anybody. However, people ask me medical questions. And that's another thing, Rachel, you are a medical intuitive too. And we're going to get into that. But this, these are some of the things that people will ask. And in delivery, these angels will specifically tell me, don't use these words instead. So I do.
Yeah.
And then when I get into it, people are like, you just need to be straightforward with me. And I'm thinking, my God, I just told you have cancer. Do you want me to say it like this? You have cancer and you're going to die. Because first of all, I can't tell you if you're going to die or not, because these angels can't tell me that, because that's an agreement between you and the hereafter, first of all.
Mm-hmm.
Secondly, just because I'm not getting like this and wagging a finger. I mean, I really believe that we have mistaken um, in our bully culture. I believe that we have deeply mistaken being finger wagged to as authority and as righteousness. I believe
Mm-hmm.
also that the bully, because many of us were bullied, many of our grandparents, parents, society, workplaces were horrible
Yeah.
bullies, Rachel, right? And so
Yeah.
we think that's authority. And we think that if we speak with rudeness, we're speaking with authority, and that's real. And also, before I throw this to you, Rachel, I'm just going to throw this in. before Rush Limbaugh, this wasn't really that much of a thing.
No.
And it was in the 90s, early 90s, mid 90s, I guess. Yeah. Rush Limbaugh comes out, and I work in media, you guys. So I'm really sensitive to the way that media manipulates, and it does, perception. So Rush Limbaugh comes on as a talk radio host, and he would be on, you guys, for 4-hour blocks. 4 hours. And he would get on and he would just rail and rail and rail and rant and blame and blame. And he would literally say that I am going to tell you what to believe because you don't know what to believe, because mainstream media is all messed up. So I'm going to tell you what to believe. And 4 hours later, people were like, okay. And he'd repeat himself a lot. I mean, 4 hours is a lot to cover.
I know.
It's weird. So then before him, we had a more balanced approach to hosting. We had a more balanced approach. He was really the first glad hander. And my God, people flocked to it. Why do you think people flocked to 4 hours of ranting and raving and blaming, Rachel? I mean, why do you think?
I think that we all have an ego. The purpose of the ego is not to have power over or under. It's just to be powerful and have our own way of functioning in the world. Ego is how to function in the world. But many egos get instead of a little bit of defense, they go into offense, and that's how they're going to function, right?
Yeah.
So that I think it speaks to the people that were flocking to that. It was speaking to how they function in the world, their ego. Now, a lot of times, colloquially, people think ego means arrogant, but it doesn't have a designation. You can have a diminished ego.
Yep.
You can have a narcissistic ego. You can have a self-effacing ego. It's how you function in the world. Mm-hmm. So people who function like the Rush Limbaughs of the world, but yeah, we're always receiving messages that we're moderating that impulse. Find your tact. Don't be a hothead. Take a breath. They've been probably being told to take a breath since they could remember. And finally, someone gave them permission to just let fly with all the venom, right? Here's an interesting thing. And I don't know the name of the study. It was a psychological study in the literature. But you can Google it and look it up.
Sure.
Researchers found that if there was a member of the family that had schizophrenia, diagnosed schizophrenia, but no one else in the family had schizophrenia, other members of the family started to take on symptoms of schizophrenia.
Oh, wow.
Literal symptoms, and they're very specific symptoms too. This isn't vague, like I feel a little off, but very specific symptoms of schizophrenia.
What?
They found that the way to treat that, and all it required was a strong emotional bond. That was it. That was the flashpoint to get it to basically be a social contagion within this family unit. So what they did is the way they treat. I was going to say, so how they treat this, remove the person with schizophrenia from the family would go back to their norms again.
Okay, so just to recap, just so my brain can wrap around this.
Yeah.
And didn't mean to interrupt you there, girl, but I'm so you're saying that if you are somehow emotionally attached to someone who has some sort of mental condition, and in this case, it's schizophrenia, which does have very, very specific symptoms. It's not like, wow, I have a headache, I have schizophrenia.
Yeah.
I mean, right? So
you like Chinese food.
I must be schizophrenic. And so is all of America. Okay.
Yeah.
So, I mean, when we look at it this way, guys, you're saying that there is an energetic, perhaps, maybe
there's an energetic and
mental bond with that person that where you could take on their symptoms.
Yeah. Social contagion is what it's called.
Okay, so if I could draw a parallel, so let's take our president of the United States. And this person, love or hate this individual, has a very specific way of being. That being does appear to outwardly lack an impulse of empathy towards others. And so are you saying that if do I need to be related to this person, or could I actually just really admire this person from afar? And could I
Yes.
potentially be infected with that social contagion then?
Yes. Yes. That's what I'm saying.
Oh my
Um,
God.
so what happens is, say you're a person who, let's build a prototype. Let's do a little exercise here. How would that person come about? Okay, say you are a jocular person in their 40s, 50s, you're a grandpa, you like to paint birdhouses with your grandkid, you tell corny dad jokes, you're the life of the party,
Aw,
you're an old softie, and you start, you're retired now, and so now you're 50, 60, whatever, and you start turn
sure.
on the TV, and it's Fox News, or it's something, or you turn on talk radio in your truck when you're driving, and you start hearing some very kind of new content you've never heard before. Instead of that polite Walter Cronkite uh, tactful button down news, you're starting it's delivered with excitement and engagement and emphasis, and it's repetitive drills build skills. You starts to drill down into you. You'll start to, like people who go to visit a country and they come back with a bit of an accent after a while.
Oh, sure.
You
Yeah,
will
yeah.
start to, human beings are fascinating little meat sacks of love and salt water and electricity and whatever. And we start to vibe where the other person's vibing, and we absorb it kind of unconsciously. Um, so say you have been this person who's this nice fellow, but now you're getting a lot of, what the problem with this country is.
Oh,
And
wow.
then it's fill in the scapegoat, fill in the blank, immigrants, or, whatever the topic is that they are trying to get someone to believe in. And it takes and pours a little bit of ink into your glass of water. And over
Yeah,
time, it starts to
yeah.
get darker and darker. And what it takes is, it just takes an emotional bond to transfer the energy of that into the person. So suddenly, I've talked to, I don't know how many hundreds of families where they had to go low contact or no contact with their dad or grandpa or uncle, because he used to be this jocular, fun, goofy guy, and now he's angry all the time. Now he's
Oh,
yelling about black people, and you never remember him yelling about
yeah,
black people before, but
yeah.
now, or whatever, um, it just takes a strong current of, again, empathy,
Yeah.
right? A strong emotional bond. So say you are a lifelong Republican because your dad was a Republican, and your family, your community, your congregation, and Republican meant solid values, and it meant God, and it meant um, fiscal conservatism. It meant taking care of yourself and being response able. I can take care of
Response
myself.
able.
Yeah.
Wow. Say that one again. Response
Yeah. Response
able.
able,
Yeah.
meaning I take care of myself, rugged individualism. Um, and so you align all that, and they say, "Oh, then you sound like a Republican. You're going to vote," and that's all you knew. I know my parents were Republican, of that old school back
Oh,
in the day.
sure.
They've all long since passed now. They were a different generation.
Yep.
Um, but that was very much the norm. It made them comfortable. It felt like the right way to have an expression of care. Take care of your
Interesting.
own. Take care of your
Sure.
family. Take care
Yep.
of your people. Take care of your finances. Right.
Yes.
So they've already strongly emotionally bonded with being Republican, and it
Mm-hmm.
certainly sounds like an understandable, decent plan, right?
Yeah.
But then what happens is a new firebrand comes in. They're going to revolutionize this party.
Yeah.
They're talking things you've never heard a Republican say before, um, about grabbing women in certain areas. Like, we didn't even discuss those kinds of things in a Republican Christian household I was raised in. You didn't
No.
grab women by any of their parts. You didn't say those
No.
kinds of things. You didn't discuss those things. They were unseemly and crude,
Yeah.
right?
Well, they are unseemly and crude.
Well, yeah,
I'm
and
just
to
saying.
many of us, yeah,
Yeah.
and still, yet what we've got is we've got this dissonance where a person goes, "I'm strongly aligned with being Republican, but I'm also strongly aligned with being different than this person." Well, you're going to have the Republican Party changing. What we've got is
Right.
we got MAGA now,
Yep.
right? Which would be
Yep.
that more firebrand, telling it like it is means being rude, crude, blunt, combative. The best defense is a good offense, and I'm going to be
that's a
more
big thing.
offensive than anyone else I can beat.
Oh, heck yeah.
It's not about an expression of pastoral or political care. It's about getting yours. Well,
Where is mine? Yep.
right. So, and who do I have to take it from so they don't take it from me?
That's
right?
what's so weird.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So the quality of that has the Republican Party has changed a lot. Well, all the parties. The quality of our national discourse has changed radically since we were young. And the norms have switched with that contagion factor so that after a while, it doesn't go in overnight. No one's going to listen to Rush Limbaugh once, well, maybe some, and go, wow, he's speaking for the real me.
Yeah. It takes a hot
repetition,
minute.
repetition, the normalization.
Yep.
We start to accept a little bit of worse treatment. We start to get a little bit more harder, just like you see a child who's all lightness and sweetness and goes to school and comes home a little bit harder.
Oh,
a little bit more protected.
Sad.
It's the same mechanism, right?
Yeah.
And how about when you see bullying at school? Something we're all, it's hard to imagine on a national level, except for that we're living through it. But if you want to conceptualize it, look at it from a classroom of 20 kids. One person comes in with an agenda to be the strong, bold leader, the queen bee or the alpha or whatever. And then they create the norm. The norm is an unkind norm. The norm is an emotionally dysregulated norm.
Yeah.
Right. And then a couple other will kind of follow and kind of getting that. And they're going to be like the squad for this one leader. And then they start looking to triangulate against a victim.
Oh my God, that's terrible. Yeah.
Well, now what's happening now on a national level?
Sure.
And so it's contagion. But I would like to say, in terms of looking at this, when you removed a powerful schizophrenic member of the family, the people's mental health status reverted to normal because they didn't have that diagnosis. That wasn't part of their neurological makeup. And they would eventually settle back out. You could say, what would happen if there were caps on extremes in our culture, if our norms would go back to how they used to be, which was being a little bit more naturally, the natural American stance of being relaxed, being informal, being friendly, would come back, because I think that's our DNA. Right?
Yeah,
but you get into things like what they did is they got into First Amendment rights. Well, I have the right to spew any toxin I want to. And it's like, yeah, but you're still going to have ramifications from it.
You can have the rights, but what I run into spiritually in my work is, because I see timelines all the time. I am chronically looking at timelines, and I am chronically doing what I can as one little bitty human being among 8 point how many ever billion human beings we have out here. I am chronically trying to run ahead of, and sometimes I'm successful and a lot of times I'm not, but run ahead of the outcome of certain timelines. More than not, I'm not very successful at that. But one of the things,
get your shoes on, girl.
Oh, girl, I have worn out tennis shoes, just worn them plumb out. And I am, though. I'm like, I'm not weirdo. I've had people say to me, who do you think you are? Do you have some savior complex? No, I do not. I do not. But who of any of us, if you can see 2 blocks down the way and you can see that there's a gas tank next to a car and you can see somebody smoking and flicking the cigarette, who of any of us would not be running towards that situation to try to stomp out the cigarette butt? Now I realize
lots are going to be running away from that one. That's a hot potato, quite literally, and they might get the heck out.
Well, and I guess I can't blame folks, right? Maybe I'm the weirdo who's like, wait, I got to try to stomp the cigarette butt out. And I think that we're all made the way we're made to do different things. Yet when I look at this, Rachel, one of the things that just stuns me is spiritually when I look at all this. And I look at this top-down mechanism, this tone from the top mechanism that we're discussing here. We're talking about empathy and the social contagions of, and I'll just say the word. I mean, and I'm not necessarily calling any one individual this. However, there is a social contagion of assholism that I have seen.
Mhm.
And I
Yeah.
have watched people
Yeah.
just take that on, and they're like, well, Billy Bob acted like a complete horse's ass. So now I'm going to act like a horse's ass. And then Jane over here is like, well, Billy Bob and Ron acted like a horse's ass. So now I'm going to try on acting like a horse's ass. And I have watched this spiritually just flood through our culture. And you and I have talked in different contexts, like in our spiritual group we're in and whatnot, just about how it is to really focus on who we want to be versus taking on these attributes, because we do take them on, first of all. Secondly, I've had dreams of the zombie virus. And for those who are not watching the video, I am finger quoting in the air, the zombie virus that overcomes people and they just become irrational and violent. And that was really a predictive quality that these angels imbued within me to see what was coming and what we had. And right now, so now that what you're describing, is there a name for this, Rachel? This social contagion?
Well, I'm sure there is. I've heard it discussed, and I've read about this in that research because I was trying to understand how a family can go from healthy to unhealthy.
Got it. Yeah.
Right. So, and I don't remember the name. I just call it social contagion.
I think it's great.
I'm sure that there might be other, and also maybe perhaps if you read a study in a different culture, in a different language, it might have a different name. But it's not in the DSM-5. It's not a yet recognized mental disorder, but it is certainly a phenomena, just like the phenomena of taking on, absorbing. We're such creative beings. We absorb so much consciously and unconsciously that have you ever been around someone and just being around them, you feel like, I think I'm a better person now that I know them.
Oh,
like I feel so good around them.
Yes, I have. Yes.
I've been so enriched by my sister, or I feel so much happier after I meet with my cousin or whatever. We must understand that the mechanism's the same. It's amoral. You can absorb good energy, good information, empathy from another. You can also absorb toxicity and gaslighting and negativity and things that rack your self-esteem. And it's whether you're spiraling up or down, it's still the same mechanism. And it does have to do with just making that connection. And we are beings of connection.
Yes.
So birds of a feather, who do you flock to, is going to change the quality of who you are.
Well,
it just
and
has
even
to.
Birds of the feather flock together. It's going to change who you are. And I have watched people over since 2016.
Yeah.
I have watched a lot of people try on having a voice that they felt was suppressed, especially a lot of women. Women, we get our voice suppressed, but in many ways. And I've watched a lot of women take on now I'm going to just say what I mean because it's being demonstrated for me at the top of the nation. Tone down,
right.
It's the top down with the tone. I don't know why I can't get that, but it's this whole thing. And I had somebody ask me one time, what does the angel who walks with the world have to say about, let's say, Donald Trump? Let's say you're somebody out there who doesn't care for Donald Trump. And I've had those folks ask me, what would happen if he was no longer in power? And I've told people, well, there are the powers that be that have imbued him with an authority, getting him elected and all the things. Plus, people voted for him, but also in that he's doing what he needs to do to stay out of prison. I've said this many times on this podcast.
Sure,
and he's enacting all kinds of laws that someone else put. The Heritage Foundation and others who got these laws ready so he could just say, okay, go. And all presidents do that to a degree, you guys. And to be
he's given a script. He's good with a script. You gave him a script and he signed the script. That's his executive order.
That's what he's doing. Exactly right. And there's a lot of other presidents that there's a lot of legislation that was pre-done. So when they sit down, they start signing. So I just really want to be accurate to history here. That even though I am not that big of a Trump fan at all, a lot of presidents have done the same thing. This just happened to come from the Heritage Foundation, and some of these executive orders were more extreme than we'd normally take a look at. So I've had people say to me, what would happen? What does the angel who walks with the world say would happen if all of a sudden it was J.D. Vance and it wasn't Trump? And the one thing I see change is, yes, they're still going to try to push the same initiatives of the people who got Trump elected, blah, blah,
Right.
blah. We all know how that works. What I did not see was the same level of vitriol in people. I saw
Mm-hmm.
the level of vitriol roll
Right.
off. And I
Right.
and I couldn't really account for that, Rachel, except for maybe the monkey see, monkey do aspect. There wasn't the great leader who was being so snarky and whatever. So people didn't feel as confident. But now you're talking about entering in the concept of an energetic, psychological, and emotional social
Mm-hmm.
contagion
Mm-hmm.
that gets
Absolutely.
passed from one person to the next. And the more high profile or at the top or more powerful that person is, perhaps their
Right.
influence in the social contagion would then again be exponentially larger, which brings me right around to what I always say on this podcast. If you are someone who chooses to be in a position of authority and power, our words have weight no matter who we are. That person's words have so much weight, and there are consequences to the weight of our words, which are exponential to what we are saying in the position from which we say
Right.
them. I truly believe
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, absolutely. Where I'm, where my empathy is dwelling a lot right now is very kind, traditional Republicans, people that I'm friends with, people that I am related to, who voted for Trump because of religious reasons, because of
Right,
cultural
right.
reasons,
Yep.
because of norms that he doesn't represent, MAGA doesn't
No.
represent, even if the Republican Party traditionally has. But he's
Yeah.
there offering. So what are you going to do? Vote for a Democrat when you are a Republican person, or what have you? Some
Right.
did, but um, I'm feeling a lot of empathy for people who are struggling with the breakup.
The
Okay,
breakup. Now
the
define that
breakup.
breakup.
Okay, when you are dating a guy or gal and you've been together for a while, you've made that strong emotional connection. So now they're powerful to you, you're powerful to them. You're becoming a couple, right? You are together. And some of those barriers have dissolved and you're in a state of trust with them. People have been this way with their political parties.
Oh,
So okay, you're bringing up Trump, you bring up Vance, whoever. Okay, well, I'm going to vote for them. Then they try to get excited about that person. And then what do they hear? Is they hear he's a straight shooter. They hear that he's going to save the country. He'll tell you whatever he needs to tell that group. So he'll say, "Yeah, I'm going to protect the unborn. Yeah, I'm going to do this and that," even if he has no actual will to help any of those causes.
he's saying the words, though. He's saying the
But he's saying
words.
the words. And
Right.
the thing is the people voting for Trump are more honest and authentic than Trump is. So they vote for him like he's like them. And I said,
Right.
if
Right.
only he were like you, Joe, I would be comfortable with the country because I trust you, Joe. But I don't know that Trump is the person you think he is, because I think you think he is like you. Because
Oh,
that's the magic, right? That's the contagion factor. He speaks for me. Now, for some people, he truly does. We
that's
saw
true.
January 6th, right?
Yes.
And there's some
Yes.
people he gave license to let loose the dogs of war, and they're all into it. They are all
Yeah.
up in that right now. But I'm not. My empathy isn't really looking at them. I'm just letting them be who they are,
Yeah.
because what else can you do? But my empathy
Sure.
is very much with very earnest, empathetic, decent Republican people who are going to have to navigate a breakup with a MAGA. And what does that mean for them?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
sooner or later, he's going to pass. Sooner or later, there's going to be, he can't run again. He's a lame duck. So there's going to be a different offering in a couple of years for the head of the Republican Party. And of course, the soul of the Republican Party, right? So,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm no political pundit, but I'm a people person. I know people and
You
I
know,
watch
people,
groups.
man.
I know
Yep.
groups and I know dynamics. And I'm
Yep.
concerned about how quietly some people are struggling with this president that they elected. And a lot of
Isn't,
people really, a
yeah.
lot of people are like, well, you elected him, and if he took away your SNAP benefits, then tough cookies to you or whatever. But the thing is they
I
didn't.
can't.
In some way, they elected an idea. They
Yeah.
elected elected a hope.
Yes.
for a better America. They want to put America first. And so they thought they were electing the person who would make America great again. America was needing America's already great, but it could certainly use some tactical improvements. So let's
Tune
hope
up
that
here
this is
and
the
there.
guy. That's right. So let's hope he's the guy to do it. They voted for all the right ideas. They just didn't realize that, just like any breakup, I fell in love with him/her.
Yeah.
But I woke up with their ego. I woke up with a person that over time has gaslit and made me feel less than. And one day, every person reaches their limit. If it's that kind of relationship, if it's doomed to fail, where you looked at them and they said something and you couldn't unhear it.
Yeah.
And I don't care if it's today, tomorrow, or next year, but we're not getting married after all. Just the gut punch of heartbreak, of he isn't going to make America great again. I have to do that. And I don't know how, and I'm not powerful, or some other Republican or a Democrat will have to do it. And I don't know if they'll do it either. And it starts to feel hopeless and helpless. And so then they're kind of trapped. That's where my empathy is right now if you want to talk about where the intersection of empathy and politics is all the Republicans that voted for the wrong person for all the right reasons. And what does that say about them? And what do they think it says about them? And if now people who they've always been friends with say, you've been friends with the Gutierrez's for years, and now their ICE has grabbed them, and I didn't vote for that. And, of course, Joe didn't vote for that. He wasn't told about that. And now he's got to digest the undigestible.
Yeah.
How do you digest? I'm getting a divorce. I can't stay married to this person. How do you digest? I looked at them and I realized I fell out of love with them. It's one of the worst things a human being goes through. We're going through it at the national level. Yeah, the national level breakup is going to be a couple years. It's going to be long. It's going to be a marathon, not a sprint. Some people, of course, when they realize this, they'll double down.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
We're going to therapy. We're going to make it better. We're going to do that. Yep. And for some people, that does actually heal their relationship.
Sure.
But there's no such thing as a national therapy session. I wish there was.
We need one,
right? ICE, you're going to therapy.
Yeah. Oh, and everybody in it is going to therapy.
And everyone but right now, each of us in our individual, small, maybe even perhaps introverted ways are going to have to break up with Trump sooner or later, because he can't be president again. So whether you're excited about the breakup and you're just like second lease on life, I'm coming out, like, and being all excited.
I'm coming up. That's right.
Or if the breakup is full of grief.
Yeah, I think that's full of grief for sadness. A lot of people.
Yeah.
You're talking about this, and I'm seeing these images that these angels drop on my head while you're talking. And so many people out there, and some of my fellow lefties out there, who don't look at these folks who voted for Trump. They see them as these hardcore Nazis, these hardcore this or that. And it's interesting because I share with you that sense of empathy for those who truly believe that this person would deliver us to a better America and do all these things. Because it was very important for them to project onto this individual, as we do with every president. Everybody projects onto that person.
The literal figurehead. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my God, I hope you're this person. But I have a lot of empathy for those people also who really were kind of in their own bubble of conservatism, just like people can get into their leftist bubbles about how everything is great and everybody wants to help everybody. No, they don't. No, they don't. A lot of people don't want to help people. A lot of people want what that other person has and will push them off a cliff to get it. Okay. So we get into our lefty bubbles too. And as you very, very, very deftly described, being in the conservative, I'll just call it a bubble. And that's not an insult to anyone. It's just our podcast is coming to a close.
We all function within some biosphere, some culture, 100% some context, and it could be liberal or conservative. Yeah,
that's absolutely right. So we all have our little bubbles of reality that we're in. And I have a lot of empathy for those folks who I am seeing in real time in my home state of Montana, which is the old school Republican, old school. Like, I don't care if you're married to a woman, a man, that sheep out there. I don't really care. I don't care how you identify as a human being. I don't care who you're sleeping with or if you had an abortion or 22. Just don't take my land, my cattle, or my money and be a good neighbor and don't tell me what to do. That is the old school conservatism here. And I think that that's really spread out. To your point, it's really, I think most people are there. And yeah, there are people out there who want some pretty destructive things. I don't have the same sense of empathy toward where my empathy goes with those folks is my empathy goes, wow, what broke you to believe that, you know,
that your norms became so
awful
bent over time.
I mean, and I'm going to say the word awful. You're not, but I mean, to have your norm being, I want to suppress people of color. I want to suppress people who don't love the same gender I do.
It's fear. It's fear of change. It's fear of a black planet. Right?
Oh my God.
Going back to our Gen X roots there, you know, you know, I think that there's going to be a reckoning, and it's going to happen at the national level because it's happening in people's homes and it's happening in their hearts.
It is. Yes, it is.
And so it's coming. So I'm working with people to help them, to support them while they wade through that, you know, the political and personal intersect.
Well, and it's huge because now, because of marketing, because of media, and I talk a lot about that on this podcast, algorithms, the whole nine. Because of all of that, I'm going to forgo that comment for this comment instead. If you're listening today, resist the urge. Resist being told who you should hate by anybody. Anybody. I don't care who the frick they are. Anybody who is telling you to hate someone, there's an agenda and there's a problem. You will never hear me say on this podcast, hate Donald Trump, ever. You will never hear me say on this podcast, hate Joe Biden. As a matter of fact, I'm trying to get Marjorie Taylor Greene on the podcast right now.
Oh, so wow, that would be interesting.
I would love to talk to MTG.
Talk about a breakup.
Oh my God, huge breakup. Yeah. Huge.
She did that in front of the whole world. She broke up with MAGA in front of the whole world. God bless her.
I know.
That's gotta be incredibly stressful.
Well, because I've always seen in Marjorie, and whether this is true or not, I'm saying I've psychically seen a lot of abuse in her childhood. Mm-hmm. So when the Epstein victims came out, she could really identify that. And it, also a lot of times people who have been abused and not had a voice, if they get a position of power, they lose their mind a little bit, because they're finally the center of attention. And we can look back at Marjorie's history.
Empowered. They finally have some power when they've been disempowered in radical ways their whole life.
Yes. Yeah. And so here comes Marjorie, and she's saying all these things and doing all these things, and is this QAnon, woo, there she goes. But then all of a sudden you meet up with, and of course, a lot of this is just psychic insights, guys, that I've had. She's never come out and admitted any abuse or anything. I just want to make that clear. Yet seeing this human being, all of a sudden realize the power that she has to bring change, and how that power has been stalemated by the imbalanced patriarchal, not the masculine. The masculine's beautiful when it's balanced, and what a responsibility she has, and how she can't really affect that at this point because it's just hitting this brick wall. And I like to say this, there's been people on the left who have disagreed with Marjorie Taylor Greene from the beginning. Yet 2 days into her breakup, Rachel, from the far right, 2 days into that, she's hiring security because she's getting death threats.
I know.
So, it really points, it's just terrible. And so you're looking at the narrative of the violent, and yes, there's violent people everywhere, everybody, but the violent left, the violent right, whatever. So here's Marjorie saying now she's quitting. She's stepping down. Yeah. She's like, I'm out. I can't do this.
I love it.
She came up against.
I love that. I love it that she's
like, no, I'm not going to do this.
Refusing to participate. In her own disempowerment. They were trying to sideline her, like Trump wasn't going to endorse her, and made it pretty clear, you toe the party line or you're out. And it's not just women, they do that too. That everyone has to toe the party line.
Yeah, no, that is absolutely true.
And
absolutely.
What a bold thing for her to do. I'm fascinated.
I'm fascinated too.
I love it when someone who's been in an abusive, unequal relationship suddenly says, "I'm out." Like, run, girl, run! Like, go for it.
Run, Marjorie, don't walk, run. And I mean, and I've been,
Yeah.
on this podcast, I've never been cruel about who she is because that's just not my personality. And I just wouldn't be that anyway. I've disagreed strongly with some
Yeah,
hysteria she has
sure.
spread. I've disagreed strongly on this podcast and on X and on my
Right.
social media feeds with not miss, disinformation that she has spread. However, I am a fair enough person to look at where she's at right now and say, girl, man, did you learn a lot. I have a lot of respect for the public way in which she has learned all these lessons. There's a lot of humility in that. There's a lot of humility in just drawing ire from half of the country that just can't stand you. And now she's drawing that ire from people that she considered to be supporters that she trusted would listen to her because she too is one of them. And then when she changed her narrative and said, no, something in her, I watched it happen psychically, Rachel. I watched it happen, rattle forward in her. This thing like, wait a minute. I was an abused child. And again, guys, this is a psychic issue. So if you're just picking this podcast up, no, Marjorie Taylor Greene has not come out and said, I survived abuse. I'm psychically picking this up about her, but this comes out for her. And she's like, I can no longer be part of the silence and this dysfunction. And like you said, Rachel, I got to break up.
That broke her up. Yeah, the Epstein thing was more than, everyone meets their limit, right? You think this guy or gal is great. You've gone on several dates and then they whip out the old N word and the hard R and you're like, and we're done.
And we're out. Thanks for the dinner. Bye-bye.
Right? You've shown me who you are and I'm exiting stage left, right? So she found what hers was. And it's interesting that she finally found it, because I was wondering. She was tolerating an awful lot of and perpetuating an awful lot, but we all do what we do. We all have a role to play, and I just got the popcorn. I'm that introvert in my house going, like everyone else in the country, just going, what is up with all these fools? What's going on? But we are all affected, and I guess empathy and authenticity will be the way forward out of this breakup.
That's 100% it. And just with the last few minutes we have on this podcast, can you believe an hour just flew by?
Yeah.
It just flew. And will you come on again with me? Because I know people are going to find such value in your perspective. Will you come on again?
Oh, absolutely. I've had a wonderful time.
Yay. I've had a wonderful time with you. Yeah. And well, just before we end this, guys, obviously we're talking about the dying art of empathy and how we can all exhibit empathy to those in our lives instead of going a hard line, guys. Rachel's correct and the angels are correct. And I've been talking about the same thing forever. The way forward is empathy. Being empathetic doesn't mean you have to agree. Being empathetic doesn't mean that you condone. It means you can actually just empathize. You can at least feel what somebody's feeling in that moment to be able to communicate better or come to a better solution, gang. Yeah. So as we're going through all this, it's really important and that we understand. I got my Post-it notes here. It's really important that we understand that this is how we get out of this. And really quickly, Rachel, we've got Marjorie Taylor Greene, who is quitting because the feminine energy up against this imbalanced patriarchal realizes, oh, wow. Well, going up against this isn't going to do any good because it's a stonewall. So the feminine steps off of it. Now, that doesn't mean she's retreating. She is turning her back on that and saying, I'm not going to participate with this, which you guys, for those of you who've been listening to the podcast for the last 4 years, I've been telling you that the time frame of the feminine is upon us. And the way that we are going to have our revolution this time around is not to get the guns in the streets. And I mean, sure, go march and do your thing, but it's not about the violence. It's going to come through the feminine mechanism. And I've been telling you all this is that the feminine just turns its back when it's done and leaves. The feminine's like, yeah, I'm out. I am freaking out. And it removes the energy, and the kinetic energy of any situation is that anything that's happening is going to draw energy from what feeds it. To resist is to help something persist sometimes. So
Right.
to just, God, I'm knocking the heck out of this mic today. So to just go ahead and walk away from that, then, and say, I'm done. That sends a bigger revolutionary message than, here's my one liner on X. Here's my tweet that says you're a bad guy.
Oh, right. And everyone's fighting for the right to be right.
Oh, God.
And all that. I would say if I were talking to someone and it was in a therapeutic conversation, because that's what I say, is they're therapeutic conversations. I would say, give yourself permission to have empathy and express it as an expression of care, not because you're a snowflake, but because you are a person of integrity. If you feel moved by Marjorie or quite disdainful of her, whatever you've got going on, don't let it lower your tone inside. Try to rise to the occasion, use your discernment. You can be both a Republican and not MAGA. You can be, we're not cartoons. We're complex. We're nuanced, right? Allow yourself to have that nuance. Allow yourself to have that perspective, and be okay if you don't have to know all. Just because we have Google now, you don't have to have all the answers.
No, Google sure does.
We knew that. We knew that growing up. There could be things that if you didn't know and your friends didn't know, guess we'll never know.
Yeah, that was it. I guess we'll never know.
The librarian didn't know, so we don't know, But it's okay to not know what your next steps are with the breakup, and reestablishing, getting out of the psychosis and getting back into your skin and your natural norms of empathy.
That's a big part of it, And so, Rachel, where can everybody find you? Because I know I'm looking in the timeline, sister. It's how I'm wired. People are going to want to have intuitive readings with you. They might want to have a therapy session with you. They might, because you do telehealth, right? Don't you do some telehealth?
In Washington State, I'm a licensed therapist. So if they're looking for a straight therapy and that's it, and they want, CBT, DBT, whatever kind of therapy they're looking for, narrative, what have you,
they can find that in Washington.
They can find me in Washington. I can only see, even though anywhere in Washington, I can't see people in other states because I'm only licensed in Washington. But if they want a reading, which is a very different thing, they can reach me at northernlightsoundhealing@gmail.com.
northernlightsoundhealing at gmail.com. I'm going to say it one more time. Everybody get your pens out.
Yep.
Northern
Light,
not with an S. God, I screwed that up.
Sound Healing.
Northern Light Sound Healing, guys, at gmail.com. Thanks for catching that, Rachel. That would have been tragic.
That's right. The kitty has come to announce.
Kitty's coming in to say hi. Is
it
time, Mommy?
And also,
you guys, Rachel, too, is an instructor at the Rocky Mountain Academy of Energetic Arts, and you can absolutely see why we extended her an invitation to do that. And she has a class coming up, guys, on December 1st. That is Practical Divination 1. And what will they learn from you, Rachel, in that class?
Oh, my goodness. Divination is a fascinating, just don't even get me nerding out.
Yeah, no, it's a fascinating, good one to nerd out on.
Because what it is it's the part where you develop being your own channel, right? Where you learn different specific techniques and skills to clarify, A, what is my question? B, what is my answer? So I guess if I had to do a very brief, because we've got to go, what is divination? It's clarifying your question, clarifying your answer. You are the authority of you, and how do you use different tools to help you?
That is so
super
excellent.
Fun. We're going over all kinds of crystal balls, tarot, runes, all the fun stuff, divining rods, you name it. All these fun tools that humans have developed over the years that actually do work. Automatic writing is one of my favorites.
That's so cool.
All
See,
of
and I
these are
think
super
that's
fun.
so cool, you guys. And I know people who have taken Rachel's classes. She loves them. She loves them. And she loves her students. The people love what they learn from
Oh,
Rachel. They love it.
thank
So
you.
you guys, it's totally true, girl. So and you can and actually enroll in those classes at rmaea.com and just look under courses. Again, those classes start December 1st. They are 1 hour courses once a week on Mondays, Rachel, right?
Mondays.
Mondays.
I'm a Monday gal. Yep.
She's a Monday. Start your week off with learning how
That's
you
right.
can hear the universe. That's so incredibly important, gang. And, just make sure that you stay in touch with me. If you want to find out more about Rachel, you can also email her through the academy. Or
Mhm.
one more time, what's your email address, Rachel?
northernlightsoundhealing@gmail.com.
There we go. Northern Light Sound Healing at
Mhm.
gmail.com. And you can also
I'll
get
eventually have a
readings.
website and other stuff up. I don't have a big public profile at this point because I've worked so intensely with the private and the personal, one-on-one therapy sessions, one-on-one readings, word of mouth. I've always been one-on-one or small classes and small groups. And I will expand out, and then I'll make that the different avenues to reach me available. But right now, I'm always responsive on that email. You can drop me a line anytime, or again through the school too.
Yeah, it's absolutely awesome. And she's very gracious that her friend Danielle just takes her shoulder and just leans into Rachel's back and is like, come on, girl, you're so good. Everybody needs to know about you. And you have helped hundreds and
Very
hundreds
kind.
and hundreds and thousands of people over the years, Rachel.
Mm,
So I
yeah,
mean,
yeah.
that's really true. So
Last time I counted, I was around 6,000
wow.
therapy sessions or so, and I've never counted 35 years worth of readings. I have no idea.
Oh,
No
that's
idea.
what I'm saying. I am not
Yeah,
exaggerating by saying thousands of
but
people. So just
yeah.
because you don't, have your own TikTok does not
And
mean you're not helping
you
people.
can help thousands of people, all you out there. You can help thousands of people with no public face. You can be an introvert. You don't have to be big in the world to help.
You don't have to be big in the world to be
Mhm.
big in the
Yeah,
world.
absolutely. That's right. That's
The
right.
power of a comma, you guys.
Right.
Well, Rachel, thank you so much, Rachel, you sweetheart. Thank you so
Thank
much for
you.
coming on. You guys make sure to reach out to Rachel. She also is an incredible medical intuitive as well. Really, really gifted in that way. So reach out to her, and everybody, I will see you next podcast.